Ladies and gentlemen, now I think you will listen to quite a lot of technical details and a lot of other information. So I'm not going to go into quite a lot of that type of details. And I want you to really refresh your minds and then be away from the formal mode of thinking. Now, either some people are for FTAs and there are people who are completely against FTAs. Now, let's put all these uh, pre-assumptions aside and openly look at the situations. I will show you some information about various situations because personally I'm not against FTAs and I'm also not for FTAs. I'm for strategies to develop the country. So with that idea in mind, let's look at the situation right now because the situation right now is very critical. This country's economy is really vulnerable. We have very weak economy and completely vulnerable. It's like we are already like walking on a rope. A little bit of push on side can topple you down. This economy can fall any time with one little wrong move. So with that in mind, we'll have to see how careful we have to be when dealing with the economy. And with that intention in mind, let us look at a few facts which is going to affect us. Right. Now the topic is anyway FTAs. There's no two words. FTAs are a very powerful tool. Pretty powerful tool which has been used all over the world. Many countries use many FTAs. There's no doubt about it, no argument about it. FTAs are so powerful, it's even powerful than electricity. You take electricity, because I deal with electricity, I'm very fond of talking about electricity. Electricity can either cook you a meal. If you use it the wrong way, it can cook you also. So FTAs, also something like that, pretty powerful. That's why I'm just showing this power saw, a very, very powerful tool, and we should know how to use it. Now let's look at 4 countries as examples. Now on the screen you can see 4 charts of 4 countries that are using free trade agreements. Those countries are Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, and Sri Lanka. That corner one is Vietnam. If you look at the Vietnam, you can see the imports have grown up with the time from year 2000 to 2020. Exports have grown up, and both have grown up equally. And you can see there have been no deficit, or the balance is balanced. The external trade balance is really balanced when you look at the graph on the left hand side top. The bottom line is the difference. You take Thailand, the same. It has gone up and down a little bit, but virtually the zero line is here. So with the zero line, it's almost around the zero line. You look at Singapore, it has gone up and up. Imports have gone up, exports have grown up. And of course, latter part of the years from 2000, I think around 15, exports have grown even more than the imports. So the trade gap, they are earning more foreign exchange than they are sending for exports. Now, what has happened to Sri Lanka? Look at Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we increase our exports, but much more than that, we increased our imports. And as a result, our gap became more and more and more. Now, don't think that the latter part of after 2018, that things have improved. After 2018, there was a big problem in the country. We had the Easter Sunday bomb, then the racial riots, then we had the COVID, then economic collapse, all that. So we had to cut down the imports. The imports came down because of that, the gap, of course, reduced. So that's what happened in Sri Lanka. You can see all other countries, the trade balance really. Import increase, export increase with all the agreements they signed. Vietnam has signed so many agreements. Everything increased, but it was balancing. In Sri Lanka, it was a total imbalance. Around 2018, which was the last stable year, the gap was about more than $10 billion. All our imports income together, put together to the country, we could not match that gap. So people tend to go for ISBs and all those things as tools. And today we are in big trouble. So we can see why it happened. It's important to see, look at each country separately now. We had a look at Vietnam, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Singapore. Let's look at each country separately. Now, this is Vietnam. Look at what Vietnam is exporting. What are they exporting? Electronic goods, 38% in their basket. Machinery, 8%. Those are all high value added items. Not these little things like garments where we import a lot of fabric and then add a little bit, add our labor into it and then sell. Not a high value added items, not a high tech item, just a very small thing. And Vietnam is producing all electronic, sophisticated, technical things, and that is where their biggest export value is coming from. Then you have machinery. Of course, they have footwear, things like that, which are, although those are not very high tech, but that's about 6.6%. Let's look at another country, like Singapore. Electronic equipment amounts 35% of their exports. Machinery, 15. Minerals, oils, and distillation products, 13. Others are, of course, standard things, around 40-50%, all high value added things, which you can see on the top, you can see $700 billion is their exports. Now, when you look at Sri Lanka, we have 15 billion only compared to those 300, 700, 600 billion exports. We have 15 billion, and what do we have even in that 15 billion? Garments, textile, not textile even, really, apparel. Is there any high value added items? Yes, it is there. 3.2%. Out of the Sri Lankan basket, we have only 3.2% of what can be taken in as a valuable export from Sri Lanka. So the question comes, do we have really things to export? Talk of free trade agreements and all that. Free trade agreements are necessary for you to export what you produce. But are we expecting to export tea or rice, or even rice we don't have, say coconut or maybe some pepper, things like that under a free trade agreement? This is, I don't understand the logic behind it. So as a result, only you can see how the trade deficit went up. Hingaya, අපේ gap එක, the trade deficit, how it shot up. And you can also see with every trade agreement signed, it went up more and more. In year 2000, we signed a free trade agreement with India. You can see how it behaved after that. Around 2005, another one with Pakistan. Then you can see how it behaved after that. So when you look at the overall behavior of the economies, the question comes, have the free trade agreements helped us? We have a huge trade deficit gap. Why is that? We saw other countries making a lot of electronic items and all that. Yes, they sign free trade agreements, they import, export, both grow up, and then they benefit. 3 countries I saw, all if you look at the other countries, similar story. But for a country like us, who is not matured industrially, who have not concentrated on developing our industries, this is of no use. Not only it is of no use, it has really harmed us. This trade deficit that went up killed us ultimately. It's like our industry is not matured. I feel like, I told you the trade agreements are pretty powerful tools. So if you give a powerful tool of a shaving razor to a guy, to a small infant who doesn't have facial hair, what's going to happen? This is what has happened to Sri Lanka. We don't have facial hair, but we started using a razor. So you can see what happened to this baby's face. Exactly the same thing happened to Sri Lanka as well. This pictorial, I am showing it to you because it's important for us to visualize. Leave aside that, again, I said FTA is a powerful tool. Powerful tools are used to make use of powerful things. We don't have any powerful products to export. You look at this chainsaw again. Chainsaw is a very powerful tool. It is used to cut huge or mature trees. What happens if you try to cut your little hedge at home with a chainsaw? You destroy the whole thing. Not only destroy the whole thing, you get injured sometimes because it will fall on you and then you will cut yourself. And until you cut your neck, you don't know. If you really don't know how to handle the chainsaw, that's what can happen if you use it in the wrong way. Right. So as I told you, if we need to sign FTAs, first we need to have our exports right. Now this is not any of my fantasies. Not that I am putting up a story and then telling you that we must have this. It's not only me who is saying that. IMF did a survey and they put out a report in 2019. And this is the report. You can download it yourself from the internet. Just look for the return of the policy that shall not be named. It's a IMF working paper WP/19/74. Very comprehensive, we call it research paper on how the developed countries developed in, especially the East Asian countries like Singapore, Japan, South Korea, maybe Taiwan, China, Vietnam. All these countries use the same thing. And that report, please read it. It's very important. As professionals, we have to really memorize that entire research paper because that is what really pushes us out. It says specifically, I have put it on the screen also, the support of domestic producers in sophisticated industries beyond the initial comparative advantage. That's one of the reasons those countries developed, because the government supported industries who are involved in sophisticated industries. This very specifically, I mean, this is a very comprehensive report with a lot of data, examples of many countries, fairly a big report. And the other important thing it says, it's export orientation. The support the government gave in, may it be South Korea, may it be Singapore, may it be any other of those, they call those countries Asian miracles. Anyway, now you understand the importance of doing it. Now, I have been saying this, now, IMF is told this in 2019. I have been telling that in 2004. This video is still on the internet, YouTube. You can download it and say. I'm very clearly saying in 2004 that we are neglecting our exports, and as a result, we will face a problem and the future generations will curse us. In 2004, when I was the entrepreneur of the year, this is what I said. In 2018, as the chief guest of some engineers association, exactly I told the same thing. Yeah, we are not bothered about exports. We are only worried about imports, because importing is so easy. With duty-free agreements, we get imports. We don't have to export, but we don't care how we are going to get the money. So as a result, the foreign exchange was leaking, something like that tap leaking and damaging the entire flow. What happens if you don't stop that leak? you destroy the entire economy. We never bothered to stop the leak, and we came up with a huge debt, and we got ourselves bankrupt. And what's the debt? Today, the debt is in 2022. I had the figures in 2022. The actual debt is 83.5 billion. Keep in mind, this little country having $15 billion, having a debt of 83.5 in 2002. Now I don't know. It may be even 90. So this much of a debt we have now. Now this is the import and export graph. Once again, I am showing you. With each free trade agreement, you can say the line that is dropping down is the difference. The line that is dropping down is the difference. The amount that we are losing, the pilferage or the leak. Can anyone guess from year 2000? So 2002, take 2002 to 2020, 22, 10 decades, sorry, 2 decades. So can anyone tell me, if you stop this leak, if you stop this pilferage, if that was taken seriously at that time, how much could we have saved? I'm asking the head table also, gentlemen. Can anyone guess and tell me how much could we have saved? Now we have already $85 billion debt. Audience, the head table, anyone is welcome to tell me how much could we have saved if we address this pilferage or the leak of the foreign trade. Any guesses? Out of 83 billion, how much could we have saved if we stopped the amount that was going down from year 2002 to 22? Any guesses? Just guess and tell at least. How much? 70? 30? 40? Anyone from the head table, please? Yeah, the difference. I'm just giving you a word, the leakage, the deficit. Deficit, yes. Yeah. So the deficit, how much? How much, if the deficit is not addressed in all the other countries that develop? So if we could save this, what is the amount that we could have saved? You add it yourself, and I'll give you the figure, is $128 billion. You take the figures and you add it yourself. Don't believe me. From year 2002 to 22, 20 years you add it, it's 128 billion. So without we forgetting all that, we are talking of other things. Really not looking at the real cost. Where is this money going? Why is it going? And without having sophisticated equipment, when we sign free trade agreements, these are the things that's going to happen. Now, this entire seminar is on the effects of free trade agreement or the mechanism or whatever it is. I'll tell you 4 effects, important 4 effects. Number 1, government revenue is lost. We are losing a lot of government revenue because customs tax is going out, and the governments will raise our income tax. That's what is going to happen, number 1. Number 2, widening of overall trade deficit, still putting us in trouble. Number 3, closure of domestic industries, making people jobless. Number 4, there won't be any self-defense to next generations of this country because cess is removed. All protection mechanism is we have agreed to write down. So then, where do we stand? Where are we now? This is the thing that I want the professionals to look at. Where are we now? It's very cool. No gas queues, no petrol queues. We are all comfortable until the next queues come, which is not very far away because we are not paying a cent loans. When that comes, we will be in trouble. So I'm asking my final 4 questions, 4 to 5 questions. I asked the OPA gentleman Is the foreign exchange crisis over for us to be comfortable with all the other things? If it is not over, we have to be very careful with every decision we make with regard to the economy. Next question I'm asking you is, will FTAs solve our problem? We have seen the deficit increasing with every FTA. Next question, can we practice any profession, may it be lawyer, doctor, engineer, can we practice any of those professions without a country? I mean, when we didn't have petrol, this old man used to cycle from here up to Katunayaka, 35 kilometers one way. It's not easy. So can we practice our professions? Can we run our businesses when there's no country? So the country has to come first. Not all our professions. Leave aside the profession. We have to spend time to look at strategies to get out of these economic problems and then come out in a strong way. Next one, are our leaders getting the proper advice? If all the leaders got any proper advice, we wouldn't have come into this stage. All these years, all the leaders. I'm apolitical. I'm not with any political party. If the leaders got the right advice, we wouldn't have come here, because the leaders have people around them with self-centered interests. That's not going to happen. The leaders need genuine interest, and who can give it? Final question. Can OPA take this challenge of getting together, brainstorming, come out with strategies? I'm not telling go strike, do strike, and then say against. Don't just create strikes. Come out, talk, and then give various proposals, strategies, discuss with the government, and then tell them, show them the way forward. I think it's OPA. If OPA does it, their country can be changed, and if OPA is not interested in that, that's bad luck for everybody.